There's a huge problem with one of Xbox's most important features. What is up, y'all? I am Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff like gentlemen, yes, like scholars, the latest news, rumors, games, accessories. Sometimes I do like little game reviews, I interview people. I do whatever I want because it's my channel and it's about Xbox, and that's the deal. And in today's video, we're gonna discuss some very concerning news about one of Xbox's most exciting and arguably most important features heading into next generation. And then we'll wrap up the video talking about the previews that just went out for South of Midnight. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Manscaped. My grooming is top of mind right now, guys, because Valentine's Day is just around the corner. I want to look good for my wife, who y'all keep reminding me I'm not as good looking as. But with Manscaped's help, I can look and feel my best, really have that confidence to take her out and show her a really awesome time. And that's all that really matters, right? This week, I'm getting a little extra help from the Chairman Plus. This is an electric foil shaver that is the little brother to the Chairman Pro, which we've previously talked about. It features interchangeable blades. You can pop on the 3-foil blade. This is great for cutting through days and days worth of growth. And if you want a little shape up, you can pop the blade off and put on the precision trimmer. And just like Manscaped's other really awesome products, this thing is waterproof. Now, before Manscaped, I used to just like go straight traditional shave in the sink, but it never made sense to me because I'm like, well, I'm already in the shower, I could shave in the shower. But now that I've incorporated Manscaped in my daily grooming routine, I find that I've been shaving a lot more in the shower. Streamline the whole process, right? I shampoo, condition, body wash, shave, because again, these things are fully waterproof. This thing can go a long time without having to recharge the battery, up to 60 minutes. But if for some reason you let it run for 60 straight minutes and it runs out of battery, all you need to do is charge it for 5 minutes and it's got a full charge. So if you want to step up your grooming routine, look good for that special someone in your life, or if you just want to feel more confident on that next Zoom call that you have, you can go on over to Manscaped's website and use my code XboxReady for 20% off plus free international shipping. And if you use my code to buy the Chairman Plus or any of Manscaped's other products, and it turns out they're not exactly for you, Manscaped offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Now, for all the flack that Xbox has gotten for being, third place in the console wars, they're behind Switch sales and PlayStation sales, quietly they've been working on these really cool quality of life features that bring a lot of value to gamers like you and me. I remember when I first discovered that I can set my home Xbox to my Series S and have my wife have access to all my games and all my Game Pass Ultimate benefits while still retaining those same benefits on my Series X. It blew my mind that when I bought a copy of Hogwarts Legacy, me and my wife could play it on separate consoles when I only needed to pay for one copy of the game. I'm all about a deal, the 2-for-1 special. That's not happening on any other platform. And then I got into the nitty-gritty of Xbox Play Anywhere, which is basically what I described, getting multiple copies of the game for the price of one, except you don't have to do anything with setting your home console, this, and that. No, Xbox Play Anywhere specifically refers to the ability to play a game on Xbox and PC, while again, only paying for it once. That is, of course, as long as you play it through the Xbox app on PC. This is a highly underrated feature that launched a while ago. It's been quietly lurking in the background, and now all of a sudden is getting a ton of attention because Xbox is making a bigger push into the PC gaming market. It's been around for a while, but I never really paid attention to it because prior to this generation, I didn't have a gaming PC. I had always been console only. And then one day, I was playing Chivalry 2 on my console, and I was like, man, I really want to see how this game plays on mouse and keyboard because I'm having trouble with some of the feints, and especially feinting into another cut on console you can't really do, at least back then, with a controller. So I was like, man, I really want to play this game on a PC now that I have a gaming PC. Oh man, but I'm gonna have to buy it all over again, only to find out, no, I don't, because Chivalry 2 is Xbox Play Anywhere, so I just downloaded it again for free. That was an amazing day, man. It changed my life. Top 10 day in the life of Ray. Then I do a little bit more research, and there are a bunch of people out there who are like, yeah, Play Anywhere, Xbox Play Anywhere, it's the best, man. And people are starting to compile a list of all the games that support the feature, and that's the problem, is that not every game supports Xbox Play Anywhere. In fact, the amount of games that support this feature is shrinking. And you would think because it's so cool, because it seems like such an integral part of who Xbox is going to be going into next generation, that they would be doing everything they could to add more games to that master list. It's actually the opposite of that. In 2024, the amount of games that supported Xbox Play Anywhere shrunk in comparison to 2023. According to a recent study by Omdia and published by GameDeveloper.com, the study shows that the percentage of games supporting Play Anywhere actually shrunk by over half compared to 2023. And if you look beyond that over the past 5 years, it's pretty flat in terms of the growth. And this is it's simply just not acceptable. This for me right now is worse than like, oh, the Xbox consoles aren't selling as much. Worse than all of the other crazy stuff we've been hearing about Xbox over the past 4 years. Because Xbox's entire identity, or the identity that they're trying to grow into, revolves around this promise of being able to play your Xbox games anywhere you want, being able to load in your saves anywhere you want. The amount of games supporting this feature should be growing, not shrinking. Phil Spencer even says that in this interview that he just did with Destin, where he's like, oh, I can't define what an Xbox fan is, but I would hope that, an Xbox fan would encapsulate, being able to like play your games on PC, cloud, console, wherever.
One of the things I was really proud of yesterday at Showcase was we opened the show with the announcement that all of these games are Play Anywhere. And it was kind of just a text announcement, but for those of us that are playing on our handheld, like our Steam Decks, our Allies, or our Lenovo, like
prototypes,
console, like all of the, it matters that my save game moves with me. Like I wouldn't want to have to start Indie again because I'm playing on a different platform, on a different device. I want to be able to play the games that I'm playing everywhere.
It's got me bummed a little bit because I'm sitting here thinking, man, was this promise, when I'm just looking at the Play Anywhere feature, was that promise too good to be true? It's a reminder that Xbox is once again putting its fate in other people's hands. When it works, the Play Anywhere feature is awesome. But I also understand that it is a tough pitch probably to third-party developers. Hey, are you cool with giving away 2 copies of your game for the price of 1? That's a tough pitch, man. It's like, oh man, what? I gotta do more work for not as much money? That's a terrible idea. But even looking at the first-party stuff, most Xbox first-party games support Play Anywhere, but not all of them, especially the Activision Blizzard stuff, and that inconsistency in which games support it and which ones don't, it could be frustrating. The other day, I was like, I'm gonna download Cult of the Lamb on my ROG Ally because, well, I played it on my Series X. I should be able to go to the Xbox PC app and just download it and so I can play it on the go. I couldn't. It's a shame. And I know y'all might be sitting there, especially if you're someone who only plays games on console or only plays on a PC and thinking like, oh, this doesn't really apply to me because, well, I buy one version of the game and I only use one version of the game. But even if you yourself aren't personally taking advantage of the Play Anywhere feature, you can argue that it's more than a feature for Xbox. It's this entire philosophy that they're trying to build. Play your Xbox games wherever you want. And at first I was like, I don't really know about that. Then I came around to it because when I sat down and I thought about it, I was like, I kind of do play games on multiple devices, and I sometimes stream games as well. In a previous video, I used the example of playing Metaphor RE Fantasio on my console, on my Ally, and even using remote streaming to beam it to my iPad. So when Phil Spencer did that interview recently, I was like, okay, I can kind of come around to that. I'm kind of sold on that, even if I'm not a huge fan of doing this whole multi-platform thing. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to see the cracks in this whole play your Xbox games, everything is an Xbox philosophy, because I was painfully reminded that so much of that whole thing, Xbox Play Anywhere, play your Xbox games wherever you want, depends on an internet connection. Let me explain. I flew back to Texas this past weekend, and I was like, you know what? Perfect time to whip out my ROG Ally and play my games on flight. I had done that previously when I flew back for Christmas. I played Metaphor through the whole flight. So I was like, okay, time to run it back. This is exactly why I got the Ally in the first place. So I'm on my flight to Texas, and I'm like, all right, time to whip it out. Not like that. I mean, whip out my ROG Ally. And then I boot up Metaphor, except when I go to load my most recent game that I was playing on my Series X, it's not there. It's an older save, which sucked because I'm like, I'm not gonna do this dungeon all over again. I'm on the second trial for the Mustari trials. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that whole dragon fight again. That's stupid. But so I ended up putting it away, but I understood. I was like, okay, in order to sync my save data from my Xbox to my Ally, I should have checked in on Wi-Fi and made sure that was all synced and good to go before I got on this flight. That's on me. We can move the saves around to whatever device, but I understand that saved data lives in the cloud, so in order to access it, you need to be on Wi-Fi or an internet connection. That's fair. The night before I leave back to California, I make sure, I'm gonna connect to the internet. I wanna make sure that my data is synced. I load up Metaphor again. I make sure that the save file that was on my Series X is on my ROG Ally. It's there, everything's good. And while I'm at it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to play Metaphor. Maybe I want options. I only have like 1 or 2 games on the Ally right now. Let me download a couple of other games just in case I'm in the mood for something else. I download those other games and I go to bed peacefully, thinking that when the time comes to play the Ally again on my flight, I will be able to play my games, except that is not the case. Because when I boot up my Ally, I boot up the frickin' PC app, I boot up the game, they're like, oh no, you can't access this title because you're not signed in, Lord Janitor. We need to make sure that you are Lord Janitor in order to give you permission to play this game. And that just about sent me over the damn edge, because I specifically picked this Ally when I bought it. They ask you like, okay, is this the Xbox device that you want to be able to play games offline on? When I first saw that, I was like, okay, that's a little bit weird, but yeah, it stands to reason that this is a handheld gaming device. I'm gonna take it with me on the go. All my other gaming stuff, it's connected to the internet. So yes, I want the Ally to have the ability to play Xbox games offline. And ever since then, I have been signed in as Lord Janitor on the Xbox app on my Ally. There's never been a point where I'm like, I should sign out for a little bit. Why? It's mine, I own it. I'm the only one that's gonna be using it. I'll just stay signed in. But for whatever reason, in between me downloading my games, making sure my data was synced up or whatever, and by the time I took it out to play on my flight, it had signed me out and robbed me of the ability to like check that I have permission to play the freaking games. Woo! And what's worse than that, guys, I was on a Spirit Airlines flight. It was the only flight that I could book on such short notice for what I had to go visit my family for. And so my only option was to just like kind of lock in and stare at the back of the frickin' no legroom seats, or pay $16 to connect to the internet, verify that I had permission from the Xbox servers. I was so pissed off at the end. I was like, I'm gonna pay for the stupid Wi-Fi, 16 bucks for an hour and a half, and I'm gonna watch Invincible. Xbox let me down in a major way, man. And it reminded me like, it reminded me of the shortcomings of always online, always digital media. Because like I said, I do most of my gaming at home. I have that internet connection. Usually it's not a problem, but now I'm reconsidering that. I'm like, oh, yes, this could be a problem, especially seeing what happened with the PlayStation Network outage. The promise of Xbox Play Anywhere, whether it's the feature or the philosophy, it's dependent on a lot of things. And if one of those things is just a little bit out of place, like the internet connection, the whole thing falls apart. This is something that Xbox needs to consider going forward, and I know that they're already working on it, trying to partner up with these developers to not only bring their games to the Xbox platform, but also Game Pass and also support Play Anywhere. I would also say they need to make the whole experience more cohesive. If they're gonna go around touting, oh yeah, you'll be able to play your games wherever you want, and it's gonna be a seamless transition, only for people to find out that it's not, that's not a great look. They gotta make it as easy as possible for the average video game consumer. While I don't agree with everything that Xbox is doing, I still think that the direction they're heading in right now has more benefits than cons, so to say. I'm excited to see what they do in the future, but dang, it's been a long week. I was feeling a certain type of way. I was really excited to play my games on a freaking airplane, and not being able to do that was frustrating. Let's finish up the video talking about South of Midnight, one of those titles that makes up this great generational release schedule that Xbox is supposed to have in 2025. I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you know what this game is already. They featured it in the Developer Direct back a couple weeks ago. It showed up in last year's showcase as well. It's made by Compulsion Games, who has worked on Contrast and We Happy Few. They've been inviting more and more people up to Compulsion up in Vancouver to get a look at the game, but no one's really had the opportunity to play it until now. First previews are just coming out or rolling out for South of Midnight, and they're looking pretty dang positive. And the previews that I've read so far, there seems to be a recurring theme here. People really like the art style, they like the world, and they are a fan of the story direction, the tone. I feel like that was pretty much a given based off of what we've seen from South of Midnight so far. Even going back to the teaser, it was just like that bayou skeleton guy strumming on his guitar. I was like, oh, this game's gonna have like really cool vibes and music and good voice acting. Over the past few months, we've also been hearing a lot about, oh, Compulsion Games and, you know, their work in visiting the Deep South in the US and wanting to recreate that faithfully to create this like Southern Gothic vibe that honors the original source. I'm into all of that. The one thing that I've been worried about is like, yes, we've seen these games that have interesting premises, interesting worlds, interesting stories, characters, or whatever, but that ultimately don't grab people's attention maybe in the way that critics were hoping because for like the combat is boring or like it's just like something is off about like the game actually being fun. That's why I was encouraged to read the Windows Central preview of this game, because the author specifically mentions that the combat had a little bit of bite to it, which to me I interpret it as like that the combat encounter that he played through was a little bit more difficult than he originally thought it would be. That's exciting to me because already that signals to me that this is not going to be a Hellblade 2 situation where they're like, yeah, the graphics look cool, the acting is good, the audio is really great, and then ultimately everybody shreds it because it's kind of a shallow game and no one likes the combat. I want to see more of this game. I feel like they've showed us a good amount already, but we know that there's going to be a skill tree of some sort. I would like to know like the end game abilities, because so far what we've seen, and rightfully so to preserve any, to not have any spoilers, has been very early game basic stuff, which as we all know isn't the most exciting thing to showcase. I am hopeful for this game. I don't think it's gonna set the world on fire, sell 10 billion copies or whatever, but it's a really cool tool for Xbox to have in their belt in terms of first party output. We know that they're the stewards of these big triple A titles like Call of Duty and the Elder Scrolls now, but we know that Xbox is more than that. They are capable of these interesting niche projects, and I hope that South of Midnight gets the attention it deserves despite not having like this big blockbuster appeal when it comes out in April. Now hold on a minute, wait a minute, I'm just seeing now that Destin posted his preview of South of Midnight, and it seems to run counter to a lot of the other previews I was reading through. Namely, he didn't like it as much. I think it's worth noting that in his preview he was like, combat, I'm not really feeling it. The enemies aren't really great at telegraphing things, and there are certain things in the environment that feel like they're just there to be there. Obviously, these are just previews, and whenever you get to preview a game, they show you a very specific slice that is often out of context. You only get to play it for like 1 or 2 hours, maybe. But this is what I was worried about. Oh, they have this game that has an interesting world of rich folklore that it's based off of, but falls flat in other areas. And seeing that the game is only going to be 12 hours long in terms of the story, it raises some serious questions on like, oh, if the base combat is not super enthralling or appealing, then where is it gonna grow to over the course of a 12-hour playthrough? Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Help me on my journey to 200,000 subs. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.